Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. We are into it, guys. So just give me a thumbs up that everyone's back in there. We had a bit of a technical thing getting started, but I think we're good because I wanted to try something new. And so today we're going to be talking about scales. So scales, improvising, all that stuff to do with how we get around playing guitar scales and all that sort of stuff, and how we learn them, because so many people have a misconception about what that sounds like. So yes, looks like we're starting to get some viewers in there. So make sure you give us a thumbs up, give us a bit of a chat, tell me where you're from, tell me where you're listening from, and that'll be cool. And if you've got a question for me, Nikita's keeping an eye on it upstairs. She's going to have a look, and if there's a question there that she thinks might be awesome, get her attention, and then it'll throw it up and we can talk about it. So so I might just play a little bit of some stuff, and hopefully it won't feedback too much because I haven't got my headphones in, but we might even do that for a bit. We'll see how we go. All right. That was fun. Just a bit of a start off to get my fingers warmed up, actually. So we've got Ryan Anderson watching from Clyde Park, Montana. That's awesome. Montana, it's one of those places I've always wanted to go. It sounds beautiful there, eh? Good to see you, Mark, Andrew, Marriott. Where are you from, Andrew? Let me know where you guys are from. So today we're going to be looking at some scales, and what I thought I'd do, something a little bit different. Got some cool ideas which I'm going to try out with you. But I printed off a sheet of what looks like a whole bunch of dots. Now, if you've ever seen this kind of stuff before, I wanted to show you. Now, I know this is not professional. It's a bit of paper on a live stream, but this is how we practice at home. We print stuff off. We see stuff as a PDF on the screen. We Google something. So I wanted to do it as if I was literally doing that same thing. And I'm like, I want to learn some scales. And I've got a bunch of dots here. Now, a couple of these scales are normal scales, what I'd call kind of famous. A couple of them are kind of random. And it's just happens to be one of the ones that I thought would be kind of fun to have a go at as a person I don't really know some of these scale shapes. I've probably attempted them at some point or played around with them, but what I thought I'd do is kind of walk through a little bit of what I would actually do if I was doing scale shapes. But just to talk about, though, before we do that, what is a really cool thing to think about when you are doing soloing. And if you've never tried soloing, it's really scary if you don't know what you're doing. And I understand. It's like going to the gym for the very first time, and it's intimidating. You get in there and there's people seem to know what they're doing, and you think everyone's watching you, and you think everyone's judging you because you don't know what you're doing in the gym. Or there's many examples of this. Or going into a guitar store, right? Going to buy a guitar, and you're only a beginner, and you're scared to pick the guitar up and play something because you might suck or they kick you out. All these things go through your mind. So soloing's in the same category as that. It can be very scary. So what I find is I'll teach people a little bit of like a scale shape, and people freak out and don't want to just do their own thing. They want me to give them every riff. They want me to map the whole thing out, and I get that. But it's really a matter of like just going and being free, like that little kid who gets to the beach for the first time and just starts running and waddling around the beach. That's kind of how we want to be when we're playing scales, and not be afraid to make a few mistakes. So the first thing is you want to figure out when you're playing along to something is you've got to figure out, obviously, a scale shape you're going to use. You've got to figure out the key first, though. The key of the song. What is it? Is it this is in like let's have a listen to what we've got here. So I don't basically listen to that. I'm just listening to a backing track from YouTube there using Elevated Jam Tracks because he's so awesome. Elevated Jam Tracks. I just love the jam tracks from there. So I happen to know which one this is based on a G major, because the very first chord usually gives it away. In this case, G major. So I know that because I've figured that out. But we can learn how to do that, finding keys. We did a bit of that last week. But what I want to do is, once we've got your key, you want to figure out major or minor sounding. It's kind of, and this one's kind of happy sounding, whereas minor would sound so like this, more like this, more sad sounding. You kind of figure that out after a while. That's not imperative, but it's good to get a rough idea of what the sound is like, so you can kind of keep that going, right? So those are the first main things. And then you need to get one scale that you're really good at. So if you're good at your go-to scale, we need to figure out how to make the go-to scale work. And this is, I'm talking basics here when you first start, so that you've always got a scale we can use. And I always recommend, if you've already done stuff with me, the first pentatonic shape, which is this one here. So if we're, let's do it in B. So there's B here, B minor. So B is my 7th fret. And this is another good thing to learn the top string so that you know where you're at. So, and I like using this as a guide. And here's the shape that I use, which is finger wise, 1, 4, right? And you can see it's 1 finger per fret here, 1, 4, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4. The good thing about the scale shape, your first finger just keeps on going, trucking down that first fret. And the first thing we always do when we play a scale shape is we usually start at the top, right? Everyone does this, and we work our way to the bottom. It's a no-no. We don't want to. You can do that initially, but if you're playing a solid or something, you maybe just establish it and then throw it away as if you never thought about it, and just remember where those notes are, and then start experimenting. So, so in this case, we do the pentatonic scale here, but we've got a bunch of new scales. I've never done some of these scales, so we need to listen to those. I'm going to figure them out. I'm going to have a go at it. I'm going to show you how I would practice using these scale shapes. So, and I've literally just printed this off and grabbed it. So let's just, we'll see what happens. I'm thinking this scale shape right here looks kind of cool and kind of simple. I hope you can see that. The scale shape here. So this scale shape here, if we look at the scale shape, where my finger is, that is the big string, right? And the skinny wee string is this one here. That's how scale shapes look. In this case, now don't worry about where the scale is too much, unless it's specific. Like here it says C major right here, right? It says C major, pretty sure. So the root first finger, so it's telling me that's a C major scale based on, oh, okay, it's telling me that's the 12th fret right up there. So it says if it's C major, that's the 12th fret on this note here. Can you see that? C major. Sorry, I'm trying to get it to the camera there. My finger's going the opposite direction. There. That is the 12th fret. So that, therefore, there, that way, this way. This is so weird. It's like reversing the car, looking at a screen backwards. That note there, that note is the root note. You can see it's a little triangle on it in this case. I've just figured this out based on what's going on there. So if it's C major, that needs to be on this, on that fret on the top, what is it? On the 10th fret in this case. Let's see if that's the case. Let's see if I'm right with it. It's not quite right the way they've done that, but that's all right. See, that's another thing. You'll get a lot of things printed off will be wrong. That's not technically the right spot. That's what the easiest thing about this scale shape, because I just figured it out. What this is, see, this is what I got to go through. Well, you've got to go through. Sometimes things are wrong, but that note there is the root note, so that should go on the C, and that shouldn't be the 12th fret there. 12th fret should really be there, that note there. I think they've just printed that wrong, so that's a little mistake they've made, but no biggie. So there's my root note there. So my first finger is going to go here. I'd probably play this note with the second finger and this note with the little finger. So you can see it's going to be that big spacing, 2 frets away, 2 frets away. And so therefore I'd be like, there's my C, in the case of a C major. That would be my little scale shape there. So if I do that again, I might just bring the camera down here while I'm talking here. So I'm going to be doing, so there's my C, here's my C major, here's my first 3 notes. And underneath that, if we look at the scale shape again, and I'm just not going to do the whole scale shape straight away. If you look at that again, the next string down is exactly the same, right? And then a string above that, I move in 1 fret. I'll go through that, and then I've got literally the same note again, so the same positioning again. So these two strings are the same as the strings above that. So if I go through that, I've got this scale shape. So I'm just pretending like I've never seen this before, right? And I'm trying to figure this out. So there's a little stretch there, right? And then the string underneath, same again. It's kind of nice, easy shape. And then my first finger comes in 1 fret, and then I've got another string underneath, exactly the same. So that should be my scale shape. And you can actually hear the major shape. So if I hear that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, continue on. That's what a scale shape is. It's just picking out the notes that I need in the key of C. Now, even though the chords are changing, I might be going C to G, A minor to an F there. So I'm just doing some stuff in the key of C. So all these things work. And then I've got notes within there I can play with that are using that scale shape. So based on, so I know there's a whole scale shape here, and the temptation is to go through and do the entire scale shape, right? Oopsie. Which I know what that scale shape is now. It looks familiar because I've done this before, but if I'm pretending I'm you guys and I've never done this, I wouldn't do this whole scale shape if I was practicing this. I would literally be like, okay, I want to learn soloing. I don't want to just learn scales. For me, you got to combine the two guys. So you don't want to just be like, I'm going to sit there and practice 30 chords, because that's kind of a waste of time. Oh, hey, just looking at what we got. Andrew, you're in Essex, mate. Awesome. Redline Homes Incorporated, New York. We've got New York here. We've got Don from California, Don Myers. That's awesome. Just looking at the other people that are different parts of the world. I'm in New Zealand. It's 6:21 a.m. This is crazy. I get up this early for you guys so you can see me in the stream and actually be there. And I think it's your Sunday, so hopefully you're enjoying your Sunday. For the rest of the guys in the world, here in New Zealand, it's Monday morning. So Monday morning gains. So back to the scale shape. So we're going to be just doing the top 2 strings at this stage, because there's a lot of notes, right? We've got 1, 2, 3 notes already, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 notes. Now, we only need 8 notes in a scale to be doing every note within an octave, right? So I've got 6 of them already. So what I'd be doing is concentrating on those top 2 strings, how they look, how they feel, how they sound, and then trying to put it to something. So if that backing track I just pulled up before, and that was in G major, right? Remember that? I'm going to use my phone here and see what happens. So if that was in G, so my G note, using that same concept, G major, let's see if it works, because there's my 8th fret. I could be wrong. This could be a disaster. And when I go back down now to the G down here, now my scale shape is here. This is the beauty of scales, guys. Once you learn a scale, you just move it to where you need it to be, and you can play with it. It's like, oh, if I just do it down here, those 4 strings should all be there. So let's see what happens if I hit play. It might be a bit funny. We've got odd internet. So here we go. So what I was doing there, I mean, obviously I've been playing soloing for a while, so I can make things a little bit more dressy, but all I'm doing is using that scale shape, but I'm trying to get away from this. I'll do the same thing again, but I'll go up and down the scale like this. This is when we learn scales. This is what we usually do. Let's have a little look-see. And I see some good questions coming up there, by the way, guys. So we've got Temptationist. That's what we tend to do when we play, you know, let's stop that. For the first time, we tend to go up and down the scale. Now, don't be worried if you do that. It's what we call incredibly normal, and you're right on track. all right? You're right on track if you're doing that. However, we want to get out of that as quick as possible so we don't get in the habit of just constantly going up and down scale shapes. So if I was to do that whole scale shape, it's not that wasn't quite in the key of G, it was something pretty close. Let's try a different backing track and just see what happens. Let's do something pentatonic so it's nice and easy. And it says bluesy funk in D minor. This is elevated jam tracks again. So now, slightly different. So we've got a kind of major minor thing going on, which is kind of cool with bluesy, funky stuff, right? So if it's a major key, generally, what does it say it is? It probably gives you it's in D. See, it says it's in D major. So D major, there's my D on the top string. I know that straight away because I've gotten so good and quick at this. There's my D. So if we use the first pentatonic shape, right? The first pentatonic shape that we ever use. If we do it in major, so normally a minor, I'd be doing it right like this, which is the one that was that scale shape I did earlier. Have I got a picture of that in front of me? No, they didn't do that one. I haven't got the pentatonic for that. But if I start with my little finger though, in the same position on the D, there's my D note there. If I put my little finger here, I can put my scale position here, and every one of those notes will sound really happy sounding. And I'll show you what that sounds like. And this is how I'd practice scales, okay? So let's just start with a little bit of that. Throwing a blue note in there as well. Now, let's have I'm throwing blue notes and stuff in there as well, but I'm doing the pentatonic scale and I'm adding the little blue note there, and there's a blue note on this string here. There's a blue note there as well. I've got other videos on this kind of stuff, guys. If you're wondering about this sort of stuff, don't check out my stuff on soloing. That'll help you a lot, especially with this scale shape. Now, it didn't quite sound right though, did it? Because when we're doing this kind of funky blues or this bluesy stuff, sometimes, especially in a major key, it sounds kind of weird, completely major, kind of doesn't quite fit. So let's try and see what happens when we put a minor key on there, okay? Because what we're going to find is we can do both with this. So now I'm going to put it in a minor, so this still the same track, it's D major. I'm going to put my first finger on the pentatonic scale in the D position this time, so it's more of a minor pentatonic sound. You'll listen to that. So now that works a bit better, right? That sounds a lot more cool. And so that's what we find. Sometimes the minor will work better than the major, but this is generally in a bluesy, funky, even some country stuff that's based around that kind of thing, but in the major key. Now, if it's definitely minor key, it's not going to work. But in this case, we're going to be able to get away with both. Don't want to go into the theory on that because I don't really understand it myself. But someone out there will know it way better than I will. But if we use both now, I'm going to slide from one scale to the other. That should be kind of fun. So I'm just using the pentatonic scale shape, and I'll give you some tips. Now I'm in the major. Now minor. Major. Back up again to the minor. Okay. To me, that was way cooler because I was sounding more professional. And this is kind of a tip if you want to try that out. Going from the minor to the major shape, minor shape, major shape. That's just using the pentatonic. And to be honest, this is where I'd start out. If you've never done scale shapes, don't go picking the big one. Just pick good old basic pentatonic shape number one and get really good at it. I'd go on and on about this because it is so true that you should just get one scale shape down first, become musical at it. And this works for everyone I've taught guitar. I used to teach every scale shape. I used to go, here's the 5 scale shapes for pentatonic. Go memorize them. And then I used to say, all right, next time, okay, here's all the melodic minors, or here's the full minor scales or whatever. And it's just too much. We can't actually do anything. We've got so much to memorize. It's like me teaching you jiu-jitsu, right? I learned jiu-jitsu. I'm very bad at it, but I learn it. And if my instructor was just me and him, and he was teaching me every move that he knows from a certain position, I'd forget them all by the next week because I hadn't trained one of them. But what's more effective is when he teaches me one escape from a guard, for example, and instead of teaching me all 5 that he knew or the 10 that he knows from each position, I'm like, I know one from that guard. So when I feel that guard, I know I got this little move I can go to because we repeated it 100 times in one session. So next week when we're coming along and we're sparring, something happens and if I find myself that position, my subconscious knows what possibility I've got from there and I can go straight to it. So using that analogy, the same thing for guitar. You get one jiu-jitsu chord scale shape. So you can just get out of any position in any song, right? So that was kind of fun, right? That funky stuff. Now, this next part I'm going to give you, so once we know what scale we are, once we know what key we are, once we've got a scale shape we're good at, we can apply that one scale shape. We need to learn that. So if I'm doing scales and I'm wanting to get good at soloing, the next thing is how do I make it sound more musical? And that's really the fun part. So we want to make simple, small riffs amongst those scales. So let's go back now. So remember on this sheet of paper here, this one I just printed off Google. Here's the scale shape that we tried down the bottom here, the second to last scale shape, right? It says it's a major scale as long as I put that little note there on the main note for the major, right? So let's find a simple track. Let's go back and find another one. It says ballad in G. These are ballads. Bluesy groove, sad, slow ballad. Oh yeah, do we feel like that? Do we feel like that? Lots of bluesy stuff here. Let's get away from blues for a bit and just get it. I'm just scrolling through here. This is just on YouTube, guys. Anyone can do this. This is why I'm doing it like this too. I know it doesn't seem super professional, but this is because this is how you will be practicing. This is how you should be practicing scales. Find a backing track. This is also a big tip. Find a backing track. Don't just sit there by yourself playing thousands of notes, you know? So I'll do a little bit more on this and then I'll move on. So I'm trying to find something that's not just bluesy. Let's find something kind of, it says cinematic rock ballad. That could be interesting. Does it say the key? Let's have a look. E minor. Ooh. We wanted major though, didn't we? Because we're using a major scale to make it easy. Let's not do that. Come on, guys. Where's my bluesy? Everything says bluesy when I'm scrolling through. Minor, minor, minor. Let's get out of minor. And then I can't see when it says jazzy groove in D. Oh, we'll see what that's like. It says jazzy, so it's probably going to be disastrous for me. My jazz chops aren't good. It's just... No, that's going to be too bluesy. Sorry, guys, too bluesy. Seductive bluesy, no. Let's go to hard rock ballad. That could be interesting. Man, so many bluesy ones. Did I put that in my... This is usually not that difficult. I'm going to his real old stuff so I can have a lot of fun with the older stuff. Uplifting bluesy rock. Come on, give me something in major. All right, let's see what this is like. G major. So if it's G major, we're going to be putting our first finger on the G right here, okay? And here's the scale shape, guys, the whole scale shape if you want to see it. I'll give you the tab, okay? 3, 5, 7. Same again underneath that, 3, 5, 7. Then it's 4, 5, 7. 4, 5, 7, which is nice and easy pattern. Now the bottom, I'm going to change slightly from what they've got. I'm going to go 5, 7, 8. And then under that, 5, 7, 8 again. Which sounds weird by itself like that. So it sounds weird if I'm playing by myself, right? So it sounds bizarre, but as soon as I put the track on, this should make more sense. Can turn it up a bit too. So finding the groove. Here's the G note. So I'm not doing much of this. once jumped out of it there. So I'll stop it there. Oops, I'll turn that down too, so I'm feeding back. I haven't got my headphones in. So what I was doing there, I was trying to listen to the song. I'm listening to the groove of the song. We covered a bit of this last week. And we're listening to where we want to put our notes. And then we're just placing notes on those beats or off those beats musically. Da, da, da. Da, 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 da. Let's try those two rhythms I just did there. First one was da, da, da. 2, 3. 2, 3. And I'm just adding vibrato and those techniques I know to make them more musical, right? But I'm trying to go from a basic kind of point of view here. Now, the other thing I would do if I was learning a scale shape, and if we're looking back at the scale shape here, right? This one on the bottom, the second to the bottom, whatever you want to call that. Man, my fingers are complete opposite on the screen. that scale there. Now that, if I'm using that, let's just try only using the top 3 strings, because that's kind of you want to break it down to a small amount of notes, right? So let's just do that for a while. It might sound a bit bizarre, but let's give it a go. Kind of get the idea, right? That's giving a bit of a gist on what's going on there. So with the scales thing, just to sort of sum up a little bit of that and then take some of your guys' questions. So make sure you fire your questions down there. If you haven't already said where you're from, we'll try and see where I might mention some of those people and where you're from if I haven't said it yet. So yeah, put a question in the chat. Make sure you let me know what's going on, what you want to know about. If it's about scales, you can ask me about other stuff, but we're going to try and keep it about scales and soloing and any advice I can give around that. But just to sum up, keep things simple when you're soloing and you want to be listening to the groove, finding the key, just summing up the main parts. Find the key first. What's the key of the song? Find a scale shape you're working on and then practice that one scale shape till it's really, really, really well done. You don't just do like 20 minutes on one day, then the next day try a new one. You really want to spend a lot of time building a relationship with that scale. So you start thinking or start knowing where those notes are and calibrating that sort of thing. So scales, don't need to be scared of them. And the other thing is there's so many of them, guys. There's so many scales. And it looks like the amount of charts I've seen like this that have dots on them, and there's harmonic minor this and melodic minor that, and then there's modes and Phrygian, Lydian. Don't get too upset about all that stuff if it's too advanced. If you are advanced, we can do some more advanced stuff one-on-one if you're wanting to book a lesson with me to help guide you through it. But it's really not that difficult. People like to make it sound clever. I remember back in the day, people would mention modes and try and sound impressive, and I'd wonder what these things were called modes and think I was so dumb. And then when I figured out, or when I finally learnt what they were, it wasn't a big deal. It's just a different shade it's a way a scale is placed, I guess, to put it, so that it creates a different tone against the chords you're playing. It's just the same scale shapes though. It's basically, once you've learnt your 5 main shapes in pentatonic and your 5 main shapes in full scales, and then this cage system, all that comes out of that. Gets quite confusing otherwise. We go, oh no, should I be doing cage system? Should I be doing pentatonic? Should I be doing melodic minor? Should I be doing full scale? Should I be, all these questions? Just start with pentatonic. If you've never done it, I'd say start there. Get one scale shape, get good at it. Try it against every song, try and figure it out. Get confident, and once you can do that, move on to another scale shape. So, any questions out there, guys? So let's have a little scroll through. Meldon, you're back, bro. And we've got Daniel Murzello, the unknown man cub. I love that. Amazing and helpful stream as always, mate. Hey, thank you, Daniel. We've got Ice. I won't say the rest of the name just in case it's bad. Hey, man, big fan. Can you do a little crash course on legato? That's a great question. So legato, guys, if you've never understood what that means, it's a flashy Latin name for, legato is the way I think of it is it's very smooth playing. So you're not necessarily picking every single note. Like, so let's say I had a note that went the scale that went like this. Just did a little, and then I'm picking every single note. So legato, you could do a nice way to do that might be to pull off every single note. So what I'm doing is picking each string once, right? Pick once, and that's, I'm pulling off the next two notes, pulling off the next group of notes once I start it with my pick. This is just one way of looking at it, guys. And then you've got one more string. So I'm only picking each string once, getting the note started and using the strength of my pull-offs and hammer-ons. There's another trick if you want to get good at playing scales. Using pull-offs and hammer-ons really gives you dynamics in your playing. So instead of being so robotic, like that kind of thing, you get this, that kind of thing. So, and we've got an exercise for playing legato. That'd be cool to know as well, wouldn't it? Right? Let's get an exercise. So one of the first tricks, and I've learned this, really understood it recently with how to get good legato. You're going to have a problem if you pick the string too hard at the beginning. Okay, if I'm picking like really hard and my pull-offs are a little bit weak, you're going to notice a big volume drop, right? And now we could say, well, get your pull-offs and hammer-ons better, but there's only certain strength that you're going to get from your pull-offs and hammer-ons anyway without sacrificing some speed, because you're trying so hard to pull out the next note and get a good pull-off. Good pull-offs, by the way, is down. I'm pulling, my little finger's going to go down. It's going to flick the next note in line, right? And the next note's going to be waiting already, and then pulling off again. Now, another way you can do this is you can pull and then hammer and pull at the same time. I haven't mastered, that's not the technique I use. Some people hammer and pull off at the same time, and hammer and pull off, and they sort of land and pull off at the same time. On electric guitar, you can get away with that. But if you pick lightly, you can get quite a close sound between the two. So you can hear where I'm picking if you listen hard enough, but so I'm doing hammer-ons and pull-offs in some sort of sequence there, but just in the bottom two strings. And legato is coming from a good hammer-on and a pick being the same volume. So that's the first rule, is trying to get that right. So you might find you're picking too hard. Sometimes that's the case, because if you're really picking, you can hear all the start of each of those. But if I pick it a little lighter, it's kind of very similar sound. And therefore in legato, really good legato, if you're someone like Guthrie Gavan is a great example, Joe Satriani is another one, their legato playing is incredible and smooth. I'm not so smooth. I'm teaching all wagon wheel most of the time, so don't get a lot of chance to do a lot of legato, but I wish I did. So that kind of thing. So, and if you want an exercise for good legato, so depends how hard you want to start, depending what level you're at. But what a nice one for hammer-ons is this one here, and it's good for speed as well. I got it from Paul Gilbert from the back in the 80s. Now what we're doing here is going to do the A, we'll just call this the A minor scale, right? I'm going to do a hammer-on here at the 5th fret to the 7th fret. It's the only one. And then I'm going to go underneath and do a hammer-on from the 5th fret to the 6th fret, right? And I'm trying to make them sound smooth. And so that's the first part. There's a bit more to it, but you could just start with that by going and trying to get that smooth, right? And maybe speed up. Now the opposite is also good. So you could do a pull off, a little bit harder, a lot harder actually, and then you can do combinations of the two. But the next thing is you can also make that riff a little bit longer. What he does that, it comes back and does the first string again, which is the third string, and then does a hammer on to his little finger, which is all part of the scale. So whoops, you notice my little finger wasn't that good there. So that's just using two notes. So we're not using too many notes on one string. So we're just developing the first step, right? Hammer-ons. So the first one, which is 5, 7, 5, 6. Next one was 5, 7, 5, 8. Now what we can do then is put the two together. So you're doing one then the other. Now the trick to getting that good in timing is one of the things. You don't want to be doing. you know, that's a bit, skippity, skippity. You want it to be, the timing of the hammer on should be when the next note happens. Note, 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 da da da. So da 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 gives you that. So you're getting used to picking at the right time. Oops. And then speeding it up. Now, not only that, you want to know if that's the scale you're using. Well, you like from A minor. It's more of a major sounding riff, really, isn't it? So, now, the little bit more of that, if you want to go further, guys, you want to go a little bit more on that same legato thing, we've got let us know. Give us a thumbs up if we're doing some good stuff here for you guys. If we're getting a bit boring, just give me a question so I can go to the next thing. So we've got a hammer on. So 1 5 1 1 5 7 5 6. It's early here, guys. And then 5 7 5 8. Now I can go even further, back to that same original hammer on, 5 7 on the third string. I could do a hammer on from 5 to 7 on the first string. So you're going. Now that's a big skip, but it's a real cool one to get good at string skipping and legato at the same time. And then the last one, same string, and then same string again, but 1 8. So we've got 5 7 5 6 5 7 5 8 5 7 5 7 5 7 5 8. Kind of random, right? But we're using all the fingers, just hammer-ons. Kind of cool, right? And we're trying to get that kind of sounding awesome. That's just hammer-ons. You can do the same with pull-offs. A way more different story when we're doing pull-offs, because the amount of energy you need for a pull-off, because we really need to get that note going after we've played it. It's a bit more tricky. But so legato playing is kind of playing lightly, getting the pick about the same as your fingers so that you can, that kind of thing, you know, and knowing your scales really helps. Just do not get in the habit, though, when you're doing this, of being too up and down the scalesy, if you know what I mean. So you end up going like this, like up and down scales, but that kind of thing, going up and down a whole scale, which is not very musical. That might be impressive as a little exercise, but it's not, you know, it doesn't really sound musical. You might be able to throw it in somewhere, but there's not really a lot to be gained from it. It's cool playing fast, though. I enjoy playing fast. No, I can't do it very well, but you need to make it musical and work. So hopefully that helps you, by the way. Hopefully that helps with the legato stuff. I'm not amazing legato, especially in acoustic. Better on electric. Meldon, good to see you back again, bro. You're like so loyal every week. Do you think as much about the technical aspects when you play, or does it just come to you? Yeah, it's a good question. So I used to think people, like when people were soloing, it was like the Matrix was falling out of the sky. You know, the numbers and stuff in the Matrix, and it was like you're in this genius mode, and it's all just, you know, you're calculating things, and you're thinking, I put your finger there, left, the 10th fret, 9th fret, second string, hammer on, pull off, all these things are going on. You're not actually thinking about much at all when you're soloing. That's the ultimate. You're really just playing music and you're thinking about music. So that's why I recommend starting with one scale shape and getting really good. Sometimes you do think technical things, but it never really works out to be too good, because you're going, oh, I could play that riff I learned on Thursday. That could be kind of cool. Now that was in C minor. So if I put that on the second, because there's too much thinking going on and you're not in the song anymore, you're not playing music. But when you're starting out, you're going to be doing a lot of thinking. You're going to be thinking all the time, where's my fingers go? If you're learning a new scale shape, you might be thinking a lot. But a good way to do it is just to have the scale shape. See, I've got these ones written out. These are kind of advanced ones. You just have one scale shape written out in front of you, looking like that, or on a screen, on your phone. And I like to look at the scale shape, and then while I'm playing against the backing track, I'm looking at the notes that are available to me. I'm kind of switching off to it, though. You know, when you talk to someone or someone's talking to you and you can kind of tell they've blanked off, even though they're looking at you, they're really somewhere else. That's kind of how you want to be playing. You want to be looking at the scale shape, going like, and listening to the song. And then trying to make it musical straight away. So like instantly I can't help but do that now. But when I was starting, you're just starting out doing the notes, right? You just want to be like, and trying to figure out what it sounded like against that chord, whether it was good or bad. Was it really amazing note choice? Thinking about small ideas, that'll help you. If you are going to do ideas, do them small. Just be like, oh, I'm going to go to the 10th fret and play that note. Simple as that. Like, and then go like, there's the 10th fret. Then it might be just like, I'm going to go down here now. It's more like you're driving and you're just like, oh, where am I driving to? I'm just going to go left here. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm just going to stop here for a bit. This is kind of how we drive as well. Same thing with guitar playing when you're soloing. You kind of want to think like that. Hope that helps, Eldon. Any other questions out there, guys? Make sure you like if this is sounding good. Helps my algorithms. It helps with people getting this sent out to more people so it can be suggested to them. So I don't know how to say that name, but that's a great pick. I wish it was actually, if that actually was you, that'd be pretty impressive. I don't even want to attempt that name, but I can see the last part is ha. But hey, Mark, what do you think about recording yourself singing with chord progressions and trying to replay it later on guitar? Is this method efficient? Thanks. I'm just going to read that again just to make sure I've got that understanding. So what do you think about recording yourself singing with the chord progression and try to replay it later on guitar? Oh, okay. So does that mean recording yourself singing so that you record the progression first and then sing on it, maybe, and then try and put it together after? Because that would work. Definitely, because you want to focus on one thing, right? If you're struggling to sing and play guitar, it's possible that the guitar is the issue. You haven't got the thing memorized on guitar. So I'd memorize the guitar part as much as I could, and then I can just think my brain, like we were talking about before, I can think about, instead of solos or scales, I can think about what's the words I'm singing, what am I trying to sing, instead of thinking too hard about what chords next and how to play that. So that'll probably be the way I would do it as well. Recording it's a great way to do it. If you can get it, if by the time you've recorded it, you're probably going to be good enough that you have got it programmed and you're going to be more confident. Because if you have it at that high level of being able to record it, then you're already at a really advanced level and you could probably play it in front of someone. One of my students last week actually just did exactly this. He learnt a new song and he recorded himself doing it, singing and playing at the very same time. So he did literally at the same time. As a Radiohead song. It's Tom Deacon, and he did such a good job of recording it, so he was confident when some friends came over and they were like, what are you doing? And he showed them what he picked the guitar up and managed to do a really good version of the song. It wasn't horrible, because he's very he's judgmental of his playing, of course, so it wasn't awful, he said. So that's pretty cool. You can actually do it that way. Good way of getting a song up to standard is to record it. My wife and I do that sort of thing all the time. Ramesh Kumar, bro, do you feel comfortable playing guitar while sitting or standing? Curious to know. Thanks. Yeah, both can be uncomfortable or comfortable, right? It's guitar's an odd shape, and I like sitting and standing. So I actually get bad back if I do too much of one or the other. It's because lots of years in the army holding military drums, and they used to sit right out from your body, and my body weight I'd be like this holding the drums. My lower back got just smashed. So standing up for way too long is not good, but I like moving around. This is kind of cool. I can move around. I'm doing that now. I've got the strap in a good spot. I tuck the guitar in the body, all these tips, making sure you tuck the guitar underneath your right arm, gets the guitar out in front of you on this angle. So my guitar isn't facing you. It's actually, I'm facing you. My guitar's really facing out this way. That's kind of normal. That's if you're standing. So yeah, it's kind of natural to stand. But there's problems, right? I can't quite see my frets very well, because it's like I've got to really look over to get my frets if I'm learning guitar and learning some chords. So that might be an issue. Sitting down, it's if I want to sit down, I have a good seat. I don't have any arms on my seat. Let me show you. Let me put this thing down and I'll show you my chair. So I've got an adjustable chair that you can't really see because it's black, but just a standard cool office chair that you can get when they've got a bit of support in them. Doesn't have to have support. You don't have to sit back too much when you play guitar, but you don't want any arms on the side here. You don't want arms. See, I've got nothing here in the way, because otherwise if there's an arm here, my guitar would sit up and it wouldn't sit in the seat. And I'd have to sit at the edge of the seat, which is not good. You kind of want to have a little bit of support there. So sitting back is good. I like my knees to be pretty much 45 degrees, not too much more. 45, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. So if it's too high, my legs are a bit straight, my guitar will slip off my leg, like right off. But yeah, I like the comfortableness of sitting down. Excuse me. Sometimes I just want to sit down and I can write stuff down. I can lean back. I can chill while I'm hanging out with people. But it's got to make sure you keep your back up straight. So as soon as you arch your back, you're going to start getting issues if you've been there for too long. So I like both, but if you've got one choice, try and make it a solid seat that is not like, if you sit on their bed, like a lot of people's beds have got the very spongy and they sink right in, which makes you sit kind of weird, or a sofa makes you sit kind of weird. Sit on the edge if you need to do that, but yeah. Always you can more than welcome to get in touch with me, and because that's one of the things we do. We diagnose everything when you catch up for a guitar lesson. I'll be looking at how you're sitting, how the guitar's, it's not judgmental at all. It's just like, oh, hey, try put it under your arm, and I'll try lifting the guitar neck a little bit. In fact, your strap's a bit low. Let's try that. See what it's like if you like it more a bit higher, and that sort of stuff. So that kind of stuff's kind of handy because I can see things straight away when I'm looking at you playing guitar. Something's not right. I zoom in and, oh, hey, look, you're holding the pick wrong, or you're picking in a funny spot. Let's just change that slightly. Boom, life-changing all the time, life-changing. Amro, good to see you back as well. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Picking individual strings while strumming is one of the most things I'm struggling with. Can you give some useful tips? Keep rocking, man, mate. Well, individual strings, right, while strumming. So the best way to start that is bass notes. So I would really that's the most important single string you want to get good at when you're doing that sort of thing. So if I'm doing bass notes, like I'm hitting a C chord right here, and I'm wanting to hit this bass note, which in the C is the 5th string. So you notice I didn't look to get that. I've got this straight away. I can pretty much hit it most times, right? I'm talking to you because I've calibrated that. What means that? Well, I've programmed that. And there's a few things that I need to do to be able to program that one note. And one of them is have a good anchor. So you need to anchor while I'm holding the pick. I need to make sure my anchor, I'm touching the guitar. Let me show you a close up there. See my little finger? I'm touching the guitar. I've actually worn a bit of a spot in my guitar because I do that so much. And if I'm strumming, my hand might bounce off a little bit. So I might leave it, but I come back and I'm able to hit that little space. That's called calibration. That's like my little computer in my brain has got sensors attached to my fingers, to all the things I can feel are sending me information, letting me know whereabouts on the guitar I am, so that I can hit that string that I'm after on that 5th string. That's actually a horrible string to hit too, because the string above it you'll often hit as well, right? You'll hit the top string while I'm trying to get a C. I'm trying to get that, but I might hit that on occasion, right? When you're practicing, I'm like, ah. Now that little top string thing is going to be normal when you start, but what you want to do is not look, okay? This is another tip. Don't look. If I'm looking, my calibration system, which is sensory and feeling, just gets turned off. Because it's going, oh, the eyes are doing it. I don't need to worry about it because the eyes are doing it now. Now, that's a problem because if I'm going, I've got to change chords. Now I've got to look all the way down here and then back again. And you end up this guitar player doing this. Does that look familiar? If you've ever felt that where you're doing that, that's really normal. But it's one of those things that I'm always like, okay, stop, don't look, don't look. If you do look, grab yourself, this is the same bit of paper I just used before, nothing special about it. Grab yourself a bit of paper, fold a little corner of it so that it looks kind of like this. Oh, I just folded a corner there. Can you see that? I'm just folded this little corner. It doesn't have to be a big deal fold. I know to sit it on the edge and that stops. Oops, what am I doing? I sit it right behind me and I tuck it against my body. So that stops it from being in the way. So I'm holding it against my body here, sort of. There it is. Now I can't see. You can see my hand, but I can't. I'm looking here and that's all I see is this bit of paper and I sort of see my hand disappear. Now I can't use my eyes. So that'll stop you from doing that. And then what will happen is you'll get the string like once every 10 times. It'll be accurate initially. Really fast, it'll become like 5 times in 10, and then 8 times in 10, and then 9 out of 10, and then it's like 90 out of 100 times you'll get it in the right spot. And I still get it wrong on occasion, but that's what you want to focus on, getting the bass note really good. So you need to know what the bass notes are. Like for what A minor, tell me guys, what string am I hitting for the A minor chord here? Let me know in the comments what note that is on what string it is. And as soon as you do that, I'm going to change chords. Give me what string is it? You can tell me the name of the string, or you can tell me the number of the string. Which one is it? Any comments out there? Anyone know yet? Should make sure I refresh my comments, shouldn't I? There we are. I should have scrolled up. Man, there's some good questions in there. By the way, that was, yes, nice. The A string. Good one. Good one. 5th string. Well done. So now what about the D chord? I'm going to play D here. What string am I playing? Sounds simple, but it's really important that we get this, that you got to know this stuff. So for the D chord, what are we doing? D chord is the 4th string, okay? 4th string for the D, if you didn't know that. The clue is in the name of the string, in this case. And so what about if we did a bar chord? Like yeah, it's nice, Andrew, onto it. And then if I did like a, so I'm going to do a bar chord now, and I'm going to go up the guitar. I'm going to do like a B flat chord. It's a B flat. It's on the 6th fret here. So my bass note is going to be on this case. I'll just tell you so you don't have to worry too much, but it's going to be on the 6th string. 6th string right there. And you'll know which one's the right one, because the other one will sound weird if I hit the wrong. It sounds okay. The other one sounds cool. If you're doing a bit of country, maybe you might go between the two. See, I'm doing it wrong now. Which is more tricky. We're bouncing between the beats. It's possible, like that kind of thing. I love that sort of stuff. Johnny Cash all day long. So yeah, bass notes. Stick with that to start with, Amro, and then when you get good at that, we'd move on to doing like riffs and stuff like that kind of stuff, you know. Amit, hi Mark, greetings from India. Who to transition from major? I had a transition from major to minor scale when soloing. Thanks, major to minor scale. So you're talking about when we're doing like blues or a funky thing, like if I'm doing something, let's say I'm doing something funky in A major. So I'm doing something funky in A, and then I've got my pentatonic scale that my go-to would be straight away there, minor, that's minor, or same scale, major. Can you hear that, guys? Here's my major chord. Even though it's a major chord, I'm playing a minor shape, which is the pentatonic shape, first shape. First shape, pentatonic, exact same scale shape. If I move it down, little finger's going to be on the A. And so if I'm transitioning between the two, what I want to get good at musically, I want to get good at moving from one to the other. Now, to start off with, I just get good at going from one to the other without having to think too much. So that, and I'm not always starting from my bass note, because this is what everyone does, right? When we're like, and then they go, I'll be like, go major, and they go the same riff from the same bass note from the top string. We all do that, don't worry, everybody does it, I guarantee it. So, but what we want to do is get out of the habit of that. So you want to start transitioning on the middle strings to start with. That's a good one to do. So you might get good at going, and then, so let me try, and let me show you how I do this with the backing track, okay? So we're going to go funky, because, man, there's heaps of them here. Guitar funk in C minor, and we need to find a major one again. Jam and D, blues rock and D. Let's see what this sounds like. I don't actually like the ones that are too heavy, just because they drown out my guitar playing. Chill bluesy. Let's see what this is like. This is in D major. Sounds more minor to me, but cool. So a D, top string. My D is on the 10th fret. So I'm going to start in minor, and I'm going to go to major. I'll let you know, okay? So here's minor. Now major. Oopsie. Here we go. I did it wrong with start. Still major there. Now I'm going to minor. Now I'm going to slide up. Minor now. And you notice for this song, minor doesn't sound quite as good all the time, but it sounds good for a little bit of time. So ratio-wise, I'd get good at finding out, every song's different, that how much of them, like in this case, I'd probably play more major, 80% maybe, roughly. And then every now and again, I'd come and like just do a little bit of spice and throw a bit of spice in there from the minor, and then mostly stay in the major. I'll give you an example of that now. See major, and then a little bit of minor. Back to major. So that kind of thing. So that gets you started doing that kind of stuff. But transitioning, I really like slides. Okay, so if I'm sliding, I might be doing something here in the middle strings, and then I want to get to here on the 10th and 13th fret. So I'll slide all the way from my third finger to the high part of this major position, minor position. So I might be like, and now I'm in this position of the other scale shapes. And now I'm back to the major again. I'm sliding back down again to get myself into that other position. So slides I really like for that. So we've got that. Let's do something faint like so I'm doing some, let's say the backing track's doing that. See, I slid down like that and made it musical by sliding down. And then slid back down. So slides I really like to transition. And then you're just getting good at going in those two strings, right? Getting good at transitioning between those two positions. So if I used every scale, every note from every string from every note in the scale, it's too much to program. So I just stick with a couple of strings. Might be the bottom two strings. So there's my scale shape there and major scale version there with those same notes from pentatonic. I'm just keeping it simple here in case you've never done this. So you can do this with major, like more advanced scales, 100%. This is how you should do it also. You're transitioning by, see what I did there? I transition. Transitioning back down again. Now I can transition between scale shapes that are in the same key the same way. Don't have to do it for just major and minor. I can do that between normal, like the one scale shape. I can just move from shape to shape to shape using that kind of same concept. But just stick with something simple to help with that sort of thing. Hope that helps. We're just about time to round up pretty soon. We've got one more to go. What scale should I play while playing solo? By the way, chords? Well, let me just read this because I really need a coffee. What scale should I play while playing solo? By the way, chords. By the way, chords? Maybe I got that wrong. Should the notes be from the same chord only? Oh, great, cool. So when you know scale shapes, you know all the possible notes within that key. So it's not necessarily what's in that chord. So chords are made up usually of 3 notes. If you're looking at the basic version of a chord, like a C major is basically just made up of 3 notes, right? C, E, and G. C, E, and G. So if I play a C chord, that's all C's, E's, and G's. I could go through and show you that. I won't do that now because it's a little bit time consuming, but if I went through and figured out what each one of those was, it'd either be a C, a G, or an E, and that would make up my C chord. Even though we're playing more than one string, and we've got like 5 or 6 notes going on there, it's just C's, G's, and E's. Now, soloing to that, I can play with the scale shape. It's like I've got all of them are safe. So it's just a matter of some notes sound better against some chords than others. They all sound okay. They all sound good. They're not wrong. That's the beauty of knowing scale shapes. So I would learn a whole scale shape and not worry about the chord too much initially, at least, and start playing with the notes that you have and hearing what they sound like against those chords. You'll just start getting better at figuring out what notes are going to be good against those chords. That's one way. Now, then another way of learning it is you actually do play against the chords, and you might actually learn the scales to go literally with that chord. So you would outline the chord way more. It's another way of soloing. Caged system is really good for this as well, which is another thing we're going to be, doing some videos on this year as well with the caged system, because I've got a really cool way of learning this caged system that's not traditional, but it's more effective, and it helps with, it just helps with how to learn that sort of thing. Because we can approach all these from different angles, guys. We don't have to be like, know every way of doing something. If you can solo, you're in a place where not many guitarists belong. Most people are too scared to go there, and it's not that hard, guys, to solo. It really isn't. Excuse me. So I hope we're all good, guys. I hope you had fun there. We've got 10 of you still there. Please give us a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. And I'm going to be here every week the same time doing this for you guys. I'm getting up super early to do this for you guys, for me. But I really love it. I love that you guys are giving me some questions and that sort of thing. I've got a really cool idea, and let me know actually what you think of this. I'm thinking of actually letting you call in, and you and basically doing a session together, and we just record it live like we do here, just like a call-in show. Call in, it's on video, just on your phone or whatever. You can show me what you're talking about, and I can diagnose what's going on live, and you get basically a free small guitar lesson at that time. And it's the rest of the world can see it, and that way everyone can see how we do things and how you play, and they can be also going, or you might be watching someone else getting a lesson, and you'd be like, oh wow, they just need to play this on the 5th fret. It's good for you to see that and get your confidence up and realize that everyone else is struggling with the same stuff that you might be struggling with, or you actually know more than you think, which is the other thing. So let me know what you think of that idea. I think it'll be quite fun to do, and it's one of my fun things to do, is just be on the fly and listen to you play. And because sometimes when you play, you don't realize the thing you need to know next because you haven't learned it yet. So whereas I can go, hey, the cool thing that you can do next is something, this scales or fingerstyle, or let's throw the thumb in there. Or thanks a ton, Amit. Thank you so much, mate. Thank you for your questions. I hope you're wearing those shades every time I see you, looking like a beast in that photo. So yeah, guys, thank you so much. I can't wait to bring you the next lot of lessons. I can't remember what we decided what next week's going to be, but we'll let you know in the make sure you add it to your what do you call it, a reminder, so that we can do this again next week, and come up with some questions for us when you see the show title. Have a think about what it is you want to know, and yeah, let us know if that will be awesome. Oh yes, that's a wonderful idea. I think it'll be kind of cool, and you get to be on my channel as well forever, which will be cool. And don't be embarrassed. It won't be scary. I'll be very gentle, and we'll be very lovingly go through some ideas with you, unless you're annoying, in which case I'll smash you out of there. No, we won't do that. All right, guys, thank you so much. Oh, thank you, guys. I'm just looking through the comments here. Thanks a ton. That's awesome. All right, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great week, and I'll see you bright and early, or your middle of your day next time. All right, see you later.